up ID, everyone? Welcome to the 2022 ASEAN-KOREA Innovative Culture Forum. My name is Debbie Won, and I'll be hosting today's event. Thank you. The ASEAN-KOREA Innovative Culture Forum is a place where experts in the culture and art sectors of Korea and the ASEAN come together to share their visions for the future. For the past 2 years, the forum, which was held every year since 2019, was moved online due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And this year, the forum is finally being held in person again here in the capital city of Laos, the chair nation of the Culture Minister meeting between Korea and the ASEAN set for tomorrow. Today, we're joined by many guests from culture and art sectors all across Asia, as well as students from the National University of Laos. And before we begin, I'd like to take this moment to thank all of you for taking part in today's event. Today, this forum will be an opportunity to learn and connect with cultural experts from Korea and the 11 ASEAN member states as they share their stories and experiences of working in the arts industry. And since we're finally getting back to normal after COVID, the theme of this year's forum is ASEAN-Korea Leap Forward with Cultural Resilience. Now today's forum will begin with a keynote speech with a message of recovery, followed by a first session on resilience through cultural solidarity, and then a second session on new opportunities through the convergence of culture and industry. With that being said, let's begin the 2022 ASEAN-Korea Innovative Culture Forum. Next, we have a keynote speech by Director Han, the art director and conductor from the Asia Traditional Orchestra of Asia Culture Center. Mr. Han will speak to us on the theme of ASEAN-Korea Leap Forward with Cultural Resilience. Now, to tell you a little bit more about the Asia Traditional Orchestra, it was created in 2009 on the occasion of the ASEAN-Korea Commemorative Summit with the goal to unite Asia through music. And as the world's third traditional orchestra with international nature, the ASEAN Traditional Orchestra has performed at many top-level events all around the world. And even during the pandemic, the orchestra released 3 new songs, which has, of course, touched the hearts of many people at home during those challenging times. With that being said, here's a keynote speech from Director Han, who is constantly working to boost the cultural exchanges between Korea and ASEAN through traditional music. And unfortunately, Mr. Han couldn't be here with us today in person due to another event, but he did send us a video message, so let's take a look.
안녕하십니까. 광주시립과학관악단의 상임 지휘자이자 2019년부터 아시아 전통 오케스트라의 예술 감독으로 활동하고 있는 한상일입니다. 먼저 2022 한-아세안 문화혁신 포럼 행사에 초대해 주신 대한민국 문화체육관광부 및 한국국제문화교류진흥원 관계자분들께 진심으로 감사의 말씀드립니다. 저희 아시아 전통 오케스트라는 2008년 대한민국 문화체육관광부 아시아 문화중심도시 추진단의 추진하에 한국과 아세안 10개국 정부와 전문인들 간의 협력을 기반으로 2009년 창단되었으며 한-아세안 전통악기들이 한데 어우러진 화음을 만들어내기 위해 각각의 악기를 개량하고 오랜 시간 함께 연습하며 국내외 주요 국제 행사 및 정상급 행사에서 다양한 활동을 지속적으로 하여 왔습니다. 특히 2019년에는 한-아세안 대화관계 수립 30주년이라는 매우 뜻깊은 해를 맞이하며 2019 한-아세안 특별문화장관회의 개최 기념 광주 공연, 2019 코리아 페스티벌인 아세안 자카르타 공연, 인도네시아 교육문화연구 기술부 초청 발리 현지 공연을 통하여 한-아세안 전통음악인 간의 연대 및 협력관계를 더욱 공고히 할 수 있었습니다. 이후 2020년 전 세계적으로 코로나19라는 유례없던 팬데믹 상황이 발생하였고, 이는 저희 아시아 전통 오케스트라에게 있어서도 예상치 못한 고민과 활동에 있어 위축되는 상황이었습니다. 하지만 이를 오히려 기회 삼아 이전에도 시도하지 않았던 비대면 신곡 레퍼토리 개발 및 발표에 있어 온라인 공연이라는 새로운 도전을 시도하여 3곡을 선보였고, 이를 통해 저희는 끊임없이 하나의 화음을 만들어 아시아의 아름다운 음악과 음악인의 연대감을 다시 한번 경험하며 위기 속에 희망을 갖게 되었습니다. 이와 같은 시도는 또한 2020년 한-아세안 문화혁신 포럼 개막식, 2020 글로벌 코리아 박람회 개폐막식과 한국 말레이시아 수교 60주년 문화예술 유산 분야 협력 양해각서 체결식에서도 제작된 영상을 감상케 하였습니다. 이는 전 세계적으로 대면 교류가 단절된 어려운 상황 속에서도 지속성 있는 협력과 상생의 방법을 모색하는 한-아세안 문화예술 교류 협력 사업의 모범 사례라 할 수 있습니다. 이후 2021년에는 각국 정부 및 대표 작곡가 그리고 연주자 간의 협력하에 새롭게 작곡된 신규 레퍼토리 4곡의 비대면 음원 제작까지 무사히 마칠 수 있었습니다. 올해로 13년째로 맞이하는 저희 아시아 전통 오케스트라는 코로나19라는 위기를 기회로 발판 삼아 새로운 변주를 시작하게 되었고, 2022년에는 한국과 베트남 수요 30주년을 기념하며 한국과 베트남 양국의 아름다운 자연 풍광을 첨단 기술과 결합하여 구현해낸 뮤직비디오 영상을 오는 12월에 국립아시아문화전당 유튜브 채널을 통해 온라인으로 공개할 예정입니다. 이번 뮤직비디오 협력 제작 사업을 위해 저희 아시아 전통 오케스트라 각국 단원들은 매우 설레이는 마음으로 다시 3년 만에 대한민국 광주에서 만나 음원 제작 및 영상 제작에 참여하였습니다. 아시아 전통 오케스트라는 제가 경험해온 그 어떤 오케스트라보다 연주자들 간의 관계가 더욱 깊은 오케스트라라는 생각이 듭니다. 한국과 아세안 10개국 정부와 전통 음악인들 간의 믿음과 소통이 없었다면 이 오케스트라가 이렇게 긴 시간 동안 유지되기 어려웠을 거라는 생각이 듭니다. 아시아 전통 오케스트라의 악기를 들여다보면 닮은 것 같으면서도 많은 차이점이 있습니다. 그런 차이를 서로가 존중하고 이해하며 음악을 통해 호흡을 맞춰온 10년이 넘는 시간이 11개국 간의 유대감을 더욱 친밀하게 만들지 않았나 싶습니다. 저는 아시아 전통 오케스트라의 예술 감독으로서 앞으로도 아시아 전통 오케스트라 음악이 하나 되는 아름다운 또 울림이 한국과 아세안 10개국의 우호 관계 속에서 큰 역할을 할 거라고 믿습니다. 끝으로 이번 문화혁신 포럼을 통해 한-아세안 총 11개국 간의 활발한 문화 교류가 이루어질 수 있도록 의미 있는 계기가 마련되어지기를 고대합니다. 감사합니다.
So as they say, music is a universal language that everyone can understand, and it's amazing how powerful music can truly be. And that was, again, Director Han for promoting beauty and cultural essence of traditional Asian music through Asia Traditional Orchestra. Now let's officially get started with today's forum. The first session is once again on resilience through cultural solidarity, which will examine the relationship and prospects of art and society that are created through the ASEAN art community. And we have 4 experts from Brunei, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam who will be presenting their stories in the first session. So at this time, may I have all 4 of our speakers please come up to the stage. Welcome, speakers. Now, let's go ahead and start with our first speaker. Our first speaker today is Osvian Osman, a curator at the Creative Space Art Gallery and Studio in Brunei, which fosters and contributes to a flourishing cultural ecosystem of the Brunei creative industries. Everyone, please welcome Ms. Osman to the podium. Ms. Osman is an active contributor to Brunei's creative industries by producing exhibitions and programs that highlight Brunei's art and culture. And today she'll give us an insight into the identity and historical influence of Brunei's culture and art as she strives to promote them all around the world. Once again, everyone, please give a big hand to Osvian Osman.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Debbie, for the introduction. As Debbie said, I am Osvian Osman from Brunei Darussalam. I'm a curator at Creative Space Art Gallery and Studio. It is an artist-run gallery. And we run several programs focusing on local art and also to build the ecosystems in Brunei, art ecosystems in Brunei. I'm going to speak a little bit more about the gallery a little later in my presentation. I'd like to first briefly go through the structure of my presentation today. In this presentation, I'll be guiding you through a very brief and condensed view of Brunei's history. This will help put into context a lot of what I'm going to be discussing in the second part of my presentation. So we'll be looking first at history that we do know, so post-13th century of Brunei, and then we're going to jump back in time into pre-13th century Brunei, and then we're going to jump back forward into the future, where I'm going to be examining one of the projects we do at Creative Space as a case study to see what contemporary Bruneian art is like at the moment. So, and the caveat of everything that I'm going to be discussing is that all known records are archaeological and anthropological and not art history. So, can artistic and cultural practices be sustained with just a fraction of its history intact? And what are the results and repercussions when we allow edic records for history to inform our art and culture? Okay, so without further ado, I am going to jump straight into what we do know. Here I'm sharing a very condensed timeline, but I'll be going through them very quickly after this to inform you on what kind of influences Brunei experienced during each of these periods. Okay, so next what we have here is we begin the 14th century as a vassal state of the Majapahit Empire. And the Majapahit Empire was Hindu. And, they introduced a lot of influences through religion, customs, and traditions, and it's still very much practiced in Brunei today. They're present very much so right now in our wedding traditions and customs. They come in the form of the dresses that we wear, henna, and a few other things. Next, we go into when Brunei becomes a sovereign state in the turn of the 14th century. And we become very Islamic-centric with the introduction of an Islamic monarchy. Notable years include the reign of our third Sultan, which introduced a lot of civic guidelines to the nation based on Islamic literature. And Later on, we see this happen again in 2014 when MIB, which translates to Malay Islamic Monarchy, which is the system that we follow in Brunei, is introduced. Okay. One thing to take note of as well, which is quite interesting, is what you see here in the picture is called Tarsilah Brunei. It's a genealogy tablet. And the thing with our history is anything that didn't comply to Islamic-centric literature or ideals were omitted. For example, the second Sultan, if I go back here, is not actually the second Sultan of Brunei. The second Sultan of Brunei actually went to China, and without very inside records, he was cut out of the genealogy tablet because he did not follow an Islamic route. Okay, so by the 18th century, if I just bring us here, we have become, okay, sorry. Okay, so in the 15th century, this was known as Brunei's golden era. And we basically shared borders with most of Borneo as well as the Philippines. We were considered one territory. In the 16th century, you can see here that the Philippines are no longer with us, and this is because of the Castile War by the Spanish. And then further on into the 17th century, we've lost the southern part of Brunei, which now is Indonesia. And this is because the Dutch came and also colonized. And then in the 18th century, we see a lot of land loss. And this is because, again, of British colonization. So here we are currently, and this is what Brunei is left with. So 18th century, when Brunei was colonized by the British, they brought along a lot of lasting influences. And why this plays such a crucial point is that the ways of recording changed. Then it changed to a very etic perspective. Our history then became very written, wasn't being written by those who were experiencing it in Bruneian themselves, but it was all coming from a very outside view. Okay, so I'm gonna jump back into time and talk very quickly about what was happening pre-13th century. Is that there is actually a huge gap there. We don't know. But what we do know is that we do turn up, we do exist as early as the 960, and we were already actively creating ties with the rest of the world. So now I'm going to jump back into the future and talk about contemporary Bruneian art. I pinned down, sorry for the typo, oh, it's not typo anymore, 1963 is when we started practicing very publicly in Brunei, putting up murals. Art became a very big fixture in Brunei. And then in 1972, we actually opened our first museum. And 1975, I've put down as more important because this was when Bruneians formed their own art association. And then in 1990, we then see a decline again in artistic practice in Brunei. So now I'm going to go back to my gallery and basically who we are, what we do. As I said earlier, it's an artist-run initiative, and it was born out of the need for local artists to be able to have a platform, to be able to showcase their work and also maintain their practice. And for today, what I am going to do is I'm going to use Emerge, which is one of the initiatives that we created with Creative Space, as a case study. So focusing on local art, the first place for us to start was with this project. And we started with this project. It is to provide young and emerging artists with a platform, whether it's online or physical. And it was born out of the necessity because the founder of Creative Space, Haji Osman, he is also a lecturer in UBD, And he noticed that a lot of graduates out of fine arts were being produced, but they had no sustainable way to be able to create a career out of their artistic practice. So this project was born out of that. And since 2016, since we launched it, we have done officially 10 Emerge projects, and then also 2 in collaboration, one with the Turkish Embassy in Brunei, and then later on with the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports in Brunei. So I'm gonna start with our first cycle. We started very small, and the process was that we had to reach out to artists and actually invite them. And a lot of these artists were very much so in the emerging stage, where they were still developing their art style, as well as trying to navigate a very difficult artscape, almost non-existent artscape in Brunei. And even in terms of audience, the audience was very, very small because it was not normal to have exhibitions and to create recreation by visiting art galleries or museums in Brunei. So we started very small. And then Emerge 2, we just consistently went on again. Emerge 2 was very interesting because we had the opportunity to send some of these artists after Korea Foundation had reached out to us and said, we see you doing this Emerge project. Do you have any artists that you can recommend to us for a project? And we managed to send 2 artists to Korea for that. Emerge 3, this is when we started seeing our viewership grow. Audiences no longer had to be invited. They were now coming freely. And the number of artists as well started growing, and however, they were still invited. Emerge 4, which is not in this slide, unfortunately, is when we first introduced the theme was synesthesia. And that received a lot of artists who weren't actually invited, but reaching out to us to actively participate. So that showed us as well a measure of growth from the perception from the artist side as well as the audience side. Emerge Exclusive was then the extension of Emerge 4, because we had foreign dignitaries coming to the gallery showing interest. And so the Embassy of Turkey in Brunei decided to approach us and seek a collaboration, which turned out for the best, definitely, in terms of being able to showcase Bruneian art, emerging artists, Bruneian art, to a wider market within Brunei itself. Emerge 5 is when we introduced an open call. This allowed us a lot more organic flow of artists that we have not discovered through the DCI course that was being held by UBD, which is the university in Brunei. And it was a theme that a lot of people resonated with. They started delving more into the Bruneian culture and the Bruneian identity to be able to produce their work. And by Emerge 6, we chose something a little bit more local as well, warisan, which translates to heritage. And we had a growth of artists again, and this one was completely organic, 14 artists. And then later on, with the 7th cycle, we emerged Stereotype, something a little bit more modern. And here is where we do see a depart between trying to establish a very cultural identity, not that we're escaping from it, but we are discussing things to do with identity. They're just updating a little bit, because at the same time the Emerge project was happening, we were also running a internship program coinciding with the Emerge project, where we taught a lot of university students how to take care of art, how to archive art, and also how to put up an exhibition. So later, after Emerge 7, we did have another collaboration with the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports. Over here you can see that we invited 19 artists. It was the biggest one so far. And then Emerge 8 was very different from everything we had done over the years since 2016, because this was as soon as the pandemic hit. And that's why you'll see that I have no photo references for this. But what happened was we moved everything completely online. Our campaigning was done online. And in fact, we had already put up the physical exhibition, but we could not let anyone in. So an agreement with our community was that we would leave the exhibition up and allow for it to be visited once we came out of lockdown, which proved to be a very, very strong building block between us, the gallery, the artists, as well as our audience. And then we have cultural reset, still again pertaining, and all of these themes that are being, discussed are all being picked by university students, because we also want to know what is very important for the generation and what kind of dialogues they want to have. So Emerge 10 was a very interesting one where we were seeing a lot of statements saying art is dead. So the batch of interns that created this one titled their exhibition Artpocalypse to kind of understand what was happening with the art scene in Brunei. So just to tie it up very quickly, as I only have 1 minute left, is that Emerge's growth, you can see here, we started very, very small. And mind you, Brunei's population is 250,000 population. And over the course since 2016 to 2021, when we last had our Emerge, can see that we have built our viewership. Now to conclude why I'm using Emerge there is because one of the other things that we have found out through this case study, through this project, is that identity was something that artists struggled with a lot. And they struggled with it because they couldn't find resources. And they couldn't find resources from an emic view, meaning it's written by Bruneians and it offers us the reasons why things happen in our history. And again, the caveat reminding everyone that these are all, whatever sources we could access, were all archaeological and anthropological. So art and culture is now a driving factor in creating curiosity and pushing for questions, resulting in the research and better understanding of our art history. So I will wrap it up now. I'm happy to clarify anything in the Q&A session, but I would like to thank KOFICE for organizing this forum and having me and my fellow speakers here today. This has enabled us to share stories and hopefully open doors to new connections and collaborations. Thank you very much.
Artists from Brunei are using art as a way to overcome history by expressing resilience through their art. Everyone, once again, thank Ms. Osman for her speech. Now, our second speaker is Vignesh Kobinadan from Singapore, a programmer at the Asia Film Archive, which is the oldest privately run film archive in Asia. Everyone, please welcome him to the podium. Now, Mr. Kobinadan has produced numerous screening events of films that deal with issues affecting the Asian society. He is also in charge of the Monographs Project, which features articles and video essays about Asian cinema, responding to the challenges posed by the global pandemic and climate change. And today he will talk about how the Asian film industry has overcome this chaotic time and adopted a new strategy and approach after the pandemic. Everyone, please welcome Vignesh Kobinadan.
Thank you, Debbie, for that wonderful introduction, and thank you all for being here. And just like to thank KOFICE for giving me this opportunity to be here in Laos and also to talk about my work and about the work of my organization. It's a real pleasure. So today, my presentation is going to be about how my organization, the Asian Film Archive, went through the pandemic times and how we adopted new approaches and strategies to get through this period of time. So just some introductions. Debbie has already introduced me, but I just want to say a bit about what my profession entails as a film programmer. It's a profession that often, for people who don't know, gives a lot of confusion. People often think I'm a computer programmer, which I am most certainly not. And what I do actually is that I work with a team and we put together interesting film programs that are curated, either thematically or by filmmakers or regions, and then we present that to a public audience. And this entails quite a bit of research and a lot of negotiations. We have to talk to rights holders, we have to get these films in, and we also work with guest curators and organize events, talks, and many more things. So this is what being a programmer entails, and being a film programmer specifically to do with film. So that's about me. So just a bit about my organization, the Asian Film Archive. We were founded in 2005. We are a non-profit organization, and we are based in Singapore. So when Asian Film Archive began, it was really the birth of digital filmmaking in Southeast Asia. So there was a real need for films to be archived, especially digital films, because once digital films are lost, they are lost in their entirety. So that is the spirit of where the archive was founded. And our mission is in 3 ways. Our mission is to save, share, and explore Asian cinema. I will not talk through what each of these means. So by saving, what I mean is twofold. One is the preservation of film. So here you see someone inspecting a reel of film. So we preserve films both in digital and analog format. And this is a specialized skill that involves training and specialized knowledge. And with both digital and analog films, there are very specific ways of storing them and preserving them. The next thing we do is restorations. So what you see is a still from a Sri Lankan film called Bambaru Avid, or The Wasps Are Here. This is a restoration project that we undertook a few years ago. And what happens during a restoration is that a film can, with analog film, is deposited with us, and if it's in a condition that is still possible to recover it, we work together with an international restoration partner, and what they do is they will scan each frame individually, and they will do corrections and erasures and restore it back to its original glory. So it's often upscaled and digitized in 4K or 2K format. So that's what restoration entails. And as you can see, I chose this image because it shows the before and after, how the film used to look before it was restored and after. So restoration and preservation are the 2 arms of the archival and collection work that we do. And the next thing we do is share. So this is where we work with educational institutes and public organizations to really advocate for the work that we do and the importance of it. Also to filmmakers, because I think the knowledge of wanting to make films is quite vast, but however the knowledge and desire to archive films is not as well known, even among the film community. So we try to do that through our outreach efforts. As you can see, this is a few students from an arts university, and that's my boss Karen, who's showing them how a film deteriorates over time. And last, which is where my job comes in, is encouraging people to explore Asian cinema. So this is where my work is primarily held. This is the Oldham Theatre in Singapore. It's a 134-seat cinema, and this is where we screen films about 4 times a week. I don't have time to go into all of these individually, but these are just an example of some of the film programs that we've run over the past 2 years. So these include short films, retrospectives, new releases of new films, and classic films. So let's get to the meat of what I'm going to be talking about today, which is what happened during COVID. As many of you might be able to relate, we had no public programs, all the cinemas were shut, and we went through a series of different types of lockdowns, which went from full lockdown to partial lockdowns, which also meant that our cinema space kept expanding and contracting wildly in an unexpected way. So we had to adapt according to those times. And so to get through this time, we went about creating new opportunities for ourselves. We wanted to maintain engagement with our stakeholders, such as our audience and also filmmakers, and we adopted new strategies. So what are these new strategies that we adopted? I'll be talking about 3 particular projects. There were quite a few, but I only have time to talk about 3. The first one is called Monographs 2020. The second is the Asian Cinema Digest. And the third is online and hybrid talks. So I'll talk about Monographs 2020. So during the height of the pandemic, what we felt was that we couldn't do our programs publicly, and at the same time, we were aware of many filmmakers in the region, both in Singapore, Southeast Asia, and around the world, who were essentially out of work. And they were finding it very hard to engage, and I think isolation in various states and forms was also very difficult for everyone. So we found this time to reach out to them, to give them sort of a project, and also to share our resources, which would have normally gone into paying for screening fees, and we wanted to redistribute that to the various artists and filmmakers and thinkers around the world. And so we commissioned 20 works, 10 were audiovisual works, and 10 text-based works that were critical inquiries into Asian cinema of all forms. So we, in the end, engaged with 14 essayists, essayists from 14 countries, my apologies. So these are the essayists who did the audiovisual works, and these are the essayists who did the text-based works. So these are some examples of what the text-based works touched on, as well as the audiovisual essays. And to our very pleasant surprise, the audiovisual essays actually traveled the world. They went to several film festivals and platforms, and they were seen by a wide range of audience that were both in hybrid, online, as well as physical formats. And this was very encouraging for us because the entire project took place in complete lockdown. Every person that worked on this project was working on it from their own homes, and the fact that these works were eventually seen by hundreds and hundreds of people around the world, it was a really wonderful experience to go through. And the British Film Institute also ranked us as one of their top video essays of the year. The next is the Asian Cinema Digest. So what was happening, another thing that was happening during the pandemic time, which I'm sure a lot of you will know, was that a lot of films went online, a lot of programs went online, and this was an exciting time, but it was also quite confusing, and often there weren't many platforms that were telling you, were kind of aggregating the content so that you could know what you wanted to watch, and it was even less so for Asian-specific content. So we did this very simple project that just started off as a monthly roundup of Asian cinema-related news. So these were organized into what you can watch, what you can read, what you can listen to, and also things that you could apply for, such as grants or funds or even film festival applications. And I'm very happy to say that the Asian Cinema Digest is still going on. It's in its, I think, close to its 30th edition, and it's ongoing for the past 3 years. So the last arm that I wanted to talk about was online and hybrid talks. So naturally, we weren't able to invite people physically to the cinema, and so we took all our discursive elements or speeches and online and talks to the online space. So this is a screenshot from a fully online symposium that we conducted with speakers from at least 8 different countries around the world. So this is an example of a fully online, a web-based panel. And this is a hybrid format Q&A where the audiences are in the cinema and the filmmakers join us from different parts of Singapore and around the world. And I'm also happy to say that this is a format that we still engage to today, where if we want to engage with speakers from around the world, we just ring them up and say, hey, would you like to do this Zoom talk with us? And it's arranged just like that. So looking to the future, I just wanted to focus on what these projects, what kind of learning lessons that we adopted as an organization. So sustainability being one thing. As I mentioned before, many of these projects and the lessons that we learned from these projects are things that we carry on into the future. Monographs 2020 is now Monographs 2022. We are currently in the process of commissioning 14 new works, which will be coming out by the end of this year or early next year. And things like the Asian Cinema Digest and also the talks are strategies that we continue to adopt. And sustainability-wise, even in terms of environmental sustainability, which is something that archives around the world are paying close attention to, moving things on a digital platform allows us to ease our carbon footprint, and that is also another way in which we are looking at sustainability. Resilience, it taught us that even though we had to completely stop our public programs, it didn't mean that we had to stop programming. And this was a valuable lesson that we all learned during this time. And lastly, and all these efforts allow us to re-engage with the people that we've always worked with, such as our audiences, our filmmakers, and everyone in the community and in the wider Asian cinema society. And that's really the end of my talk here. And if you'd like to get in touch with me, and if you'd like to know more about what the Asian Film Archive is about, that's my email over there, and that's also our website. And thank you very much, and thank you, KOFICE, for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your journey to preserve the Asian Film Archive during the difficult times of the pandemic and constantly trying to find new ways to overcome those challenges. Everyone, thank Mr. Kobinada once again with a big round of applause. And now it's time to meet our third speaker from Thailand. It's Waila Amatatamashad, the founder and director of Brauyun for Art Foundation, which is an open network of art lovers and professionals in Thailand. Everyone, please give him a big hand. Now, Mr. Amatatamashad has had a diverse career background. After starting out in marketing, he left that field to find a new career in art and management. And he now wears many hats as a director and a contemporary art management researcher who is constantly trying to expand the use of modern art in our society. With that being said, here's Mr. Amatatamashad.
สบายดี สวัสดีครับ Yes, my artistic career is start from the question about the culture itself. This is the pictures of the thing that when Thailand institutes have a presentation about our cultures, this is the general image that we present is like all the ways about the tradition. But I have the question that sometimes we have very renowned artists of contemporary art in Thailand, such as Apichatpong Vilasetakul or Pichet Kanchun. But most of their projects got support by international institutes from abroad, not in Thailand. And for example, this is the pictures of one of the creation of Apichatpong. This is the productions called Fever Rooms. This is a very massive light and sound installation that have to happen in the theaters bigger than 400 seats, but it's never happened in Thailand, and a lot of his fans have to go abroad to see this production. This is the question that I have: why this such a thing never happened in my country to let the people in my country see? And this is also related to another question, that we have a lot of art practitioners and art managers who graduated from abroad, but when they come back to their home country, there is no such a job. I see a lot of my friends and a lot of younger generation have to apply another job, not the job that they practice, but the job that they can make it survive to advertising agencies or corporate. Why they cannot use their knowledge to develop more about their art and cultures in their own country. So I will go to summarize what happened here in Thailand. Most of the independent art events in Thailand got supported by international institutes. Like in this picture is a picture from the event called Gallery Night that's supported by French embassies. That is very richful moment of international independent art gallery in Thailand. They create a lot of activity in the same night and let the people hop around. And there is so another attempt around Thailand that the independent art scenes try to survive. This is pictures from Bangkok Theatre Festival, which this year is anniversaries of 20 years of the platform. But mainly they got funded by themselves to host this event, not from the institutions or the private sectors. There are also another attempt from other place around Thailand. For this picture is came from Khon Kaen Manifesto and Ubon Agenda. This is the attempt to share the artistic expression of northeast of Thailand, to share the narrative that different from the central narrative of Thailand. I saw a lot of this attempt around Thailand, and I also do this attempt to find more bridge and to find more place that we can work on contemporary artistic movement. This is my attempt. I created one art festival called Low Fat Art Fest in 2019. I tried to break the bridge to bring contemporary art go out from the white cute and black box and bring the contemporary art to the community. I have to say this is very successful movement because this is the first time that we can bring, when I say we, it means me, not it's like other one, because we have a lot of attempts here in Thailand. From the picture you will see is the atmosphere of like the art gallery hoppers, the hipsters, and also the people in the community who just wear casually can hop around and see the contemporary art together. It's not a conventional atmosphere that happen usually in Bangkok, but this is not a sustainable setup. Because I learned one thing, people in the community, they're interested in art, but before this, they have no chance to access. They have no chance to feel and experience what is the contemporary art. But even they have a chance, we still have to take time to keep them motivated, to work together, to adapt it into their life. So when we work this model, it's kind of like we bring the art to community, but the community still be too passive. So I'm searching for the way how we can go deeper to connect to the communities by using contemporary art. I have one story to tell you more. Last year, during the COVID, I got an opportunity to make an exchange with the Japanese artist collective, and it's gonna be like online exchange. And on that session, I proposed one Thai artist, and I got the question from, the artist got the question from the audience. They says like, how the COVID-19 affect your artistic practice? This question asked directly to Thai artists, and that young Thai artist, they says, he has no effect from the COVID-19, because even before COVID-19, he has no chance to practice much. He has no chance to express much, to exhibit his work much. Yeah, this is quite sad. So with a lot of this question about the sustainability and how we can pave the way to the futures, I found up this model. I don't know if some of you might familiar with this model. When we study the cultural or art management, this is the model from John Hodens, that they talk about the cultural values, that when you see about the cultures or art, there are so many aspects and so many stakeholders related to it. And yes, usually different stakeholders see different values. So maybe when we talk about the art and we talk about the culture, all the people didn't see the same things. Yeah, so I play a lot to find the way that, okay, how I can bring these pictures happen to our societies and thinking about the sustainability in the futures. And in Japan, I met one artist who tried to make this kind of thing happen to her hometown. Then it's come up with my project. It's called Sustainable Transnational Art Reformation through Intercultural and Political Report. Yes, it's quite long, but in short, we call it Start Here. Yes, from Japan back to Bangkok, and I moved to a little town called Dan Sai. Actually, it's quite near here to Vientiane rather than Bangkok. This is a very beautiful town, border between Thai and Laos, and it's very small. I think it's quite similar to Vientiane or Luang Prabang. And that place, they have a very famous festival called Pitakon. I think this is the variations of the thing that we share on culture related to Luang Prabang, that you have like a big Pitakon. I'm not sure that it's called Puye Yaye or not, but this is the variation from that. In that place, we start the conversation with the communities about art, but it didn't start from art. It started from making a connection between people and people. We try to introduce our project through a lot of conversation in the communities. It happened casually through online and also on ground. And then we start to make a move to make a step like an art workshop and give them the ideas how they can use art to create a new narrative of their own story in the town. Then furthermore, we start to gather all the people in the town, including all active citizens, to thinking about the futures of the town together. Yes, and then we form the network that we work together. We formed the high school network called Mangkabia. In the native dialect, it means butterflies, and also we create the Dan Sai Art and Creative City Network to come together to drive forward our art movement to create the art cities of Dan Sai. Yeah, and this is the ideas from the people there. We didn't work on the thing that we want to do, but we start to work with the thing that community dream about, and from that dream, we start to create several projects. This is a picture from the project called Forest School. This is right to the problem that in Dan Sai, they don't have a public space. The young people don't have place, don't have activity when they have a free time. And that affect the depression rates of the city jump high up 2 times and 3 times in another years. And this is the thing that we start to move out. It happened during 2011, during the national lockdowns, that a lot of people in community start to work together to create the artwork. All the artwork that you see is the blueprint from the artists around the world. We receive more than 100 art proposals, and we select around 30 projects to let the people in Dan Sai implement it on site. Now, this is a project that I would like to share you. This is about making the local identities that they create, something called summoning blessing or kwan, that is the spirit of your body, and we develop this kind of thing become into the image and let the people there to create the form of the image together. This is the moment that we work together in that place. So I would like to say about this kind of thing because of for me, when I think about the sustainability, about art, about culture, sometimes it's not about the object, it's not about the creation, but it's about the bond that we can connect each other and we can share the dream of the culture. And this is from that picture that I shared to you before. It start to create a big value that's of the project of start here. And this is connect from the private sectors, from the government sectors, and also the CSO and the movement of the community together to run the festival called Le Art Fest, which will happen every 2 years. And not just because of not just only the festival, we also divide the festival into 6 projects that related to the well-being of the communities. So it's not about the event, but every project in our project, Start Here project, is a part of their life, from the food to the spiritual wisdom. and it also include all kind of ages, all kind of people in the communities. This is the way that we try to experiment about the sustainable, and we dream that is going to be fruitful in the futures. For all the things that I share to you is not just about dream. After we implement for a while, we got a sponsorship from one government organization to do the economic research on the project that we do. And I feel like, and it's quite funny that all the things that the research is happened in the national lockdown times, and the impact of economic that we receive from the study is quite fantastic, I can say. Yes, all the things that I share to you is about the story of the people. Nowadays, every month, a lot of artists still go there in Dansai and live with the people like in these pictures. It's not about the luxurious art project so much, but we dream that we can be a part of the people's life. Yeah, and I share you guys about this story because at the end of the days, we are the people. We don't think about like, even you do a lot of great things in your work life, but at the end of the day, you have to come back home to your beloved families. So I think this is really important for us when we talk about the cultures and we talk about artistic expression. At the end, we have to connect with the normal lives. And that's all from me. Thank you. ขอบคุณหลายๆครับ
Thank you very much for your presentation. We hope to see more cooperation between the artistic network and society in Thailand. Everyone, please give him another big round of applause. And now we're down to our fourth and final speaker of the first session. It is Antoine Nguyen, the founder and artistic director of Heritage Space, an independent organization that aims to nurture creativity and artist communities in Vietnam. Everyone, please give him a big hand. Now, after earning his degree in theory and history of arts, Mr. Nguyen has worked as an art researcher and program manager to help develop the Vietnamese art archive while fostering new artists and preserving contemporary art. And today we'll get to learn about different perspectives on the current state of Vietnam's art industry through Mr. Nguyen. Everyone, please give him another round of applause.
Thank you for inviting me today. It's my honor to be representative of the Vietnamese art organization and art screen to talk with you and to share a little bit about our situation. Like in the title, my speak is I almost talking about the private art sector. Like because you know in Vietnam we have kind of special political situation, let's say, is we had we used to be a communist countries, and we have only one party. Then it's all led by the party in on a kind of activity from economy, art, education, culture. So my talk will start in 1990. It's the time you guys can remember that in 1986 that the collapse of Soviet Union that Vietnam used to be a part of it, and this is a kind of cultural structure in Vietnam before 1990, let's say. In 1990, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, and we recognize that we have to change, and the political system has changed from subsidizing mechanism to the economic market mechanism, and we also open the door to get a change internationally. And this is the first time that the foreigner can come to Vietnam and stay for a longer time without own kind of restriction in visa and different kinds of things. Also, Vietnamese people are very kind of easy to get out of the country, to get a change to the world. And to us, it's kind of one of the very first earliest people to exchange with the world in art and culture. And this is a system, like you can see it, before 1990, let's say, it's only one voice. It's a government sector. We have no private sector. It means that we have no gallery, no independent organization. All things have to be controlled by ministry. Like in arts and culture, we have the Ministry of Culture. They have museum, they have university, they have association. With all artists should be the members. And the authority is the censorship that we say, and it's still very strong, and it's still happen after 1990. Like I said, after 1990s, we call đổi mới. It's a renovation time, that I shared with you guys. It's a change in the economic system, political system, and international relations set it up. So we have the private sector in art and culture that we, there are very first art galleries, and now we also have a private university can give the different kind of class, arts and culture organization like us, we are the private organization, or we are before that we call we independent art space, we are collective, we are we can have exhibition, we can organize our art program, but we still suffer the censorship by the government. On the kind of public program, we have to need to ask for the license from the government, and it's also at the same time, now the government system in art culture is still present. But actually, it's really poor in action. There's all kind of association. There's support by the government, but they also, that they play as a role like a government officer more than an artist and manage the culture. And so I would like to share some case study, let's say, for showing about the activity and program of independent arts organization like us in Vietnam. This is an image of 한-아세안 collective, one of the most important art space in Vietnam. It was established in 1998, but before that, it used to be. And it's lasted for almost 10 years, and you can see it's a picture on the right as a performance of the artist who's showing her body it's a performance artist. She would like to show the freedom of expression and would like to close the gap of the forbidden in different kind of misunderstanding in the art and in nudity, and it's still very strong, very tricky thing in the censorship in Vietnam. And after the show, the 한-아세안 had to close by the police. But they still move on. They still set up again. Now they play as the artist collective. They working in different kind of projects. They being nomadic, and they move from different art space, location. Even they don't have location, but they develop. They are one of the most active the art scene, and they did a lot of international exchange. They are placed to nurturing the young artists, and they play the cross-discipline project and program to connect people from the visual arts, the music and film and writing, and so it's one of the things I think is now it's very common in contemporary arts. It's a way that people it's a strong way to connect people working together, collaboration, and do international exchange like this. But before that, in Vietnam, that was mostly run in the private sector. It's no happen in the government sectors. And it's then this is different kind of projects that run by 한-아세안 Creative and some other things, other aspect layers that the collaboration project in working with the international institute that it's also the situation in Vietnam that we couldn't get the support from the government because the government only give the support to the government structure, like for the association, like for us, like this project that we just only got support from international institute, international foundation. This happened in the Japan Foundation because we cannot pass the censorship, so they cannot show it in the National Museum or Gallery. So we have to get still working with the international centers to show it. Or this is very interesting, seeing that it happened in the warehouse. That because it's a way to deal with censorship, that they have to show the whole exhibition in the warehouse and open each kind of, and for me, it's really a way and deal with different kind of things, not only the censorship, but also the understanding of society and how the art raise the voice to make a really big change to the development. And I think it's not much time for me, but I would like to make a quick introduction. Like this is the very recent performance festival. It happened, it was established in more than 10 years, and it's still run every 2 or 3 years by the artists. And this happened in different locations around town, in the middle of the small islands of the river, in the alternative art space, in the outdoor and indoor location. So the artist is the way the artist gathering, discussing, have a lecture, exchange, and perform. And this is actually no support by the government. Like also, I think this my friend here from ASEAN Film Center will know about it. It's the Dog Lab. This also independent organization layers that they organize. Let's say the Dog Festival is a festival for independent filmmaker in Southeast Asia. And also, is another festival for music. It's experimental music that also couldn't have any kind of support from the school. And this we have to raise fund by himself. This organized by Dom Dom, and we also collaborate with them in organize kind of a festival for new experimental music in Southeast Asia. And this happened also in the warehouse. It's a concert. And it's also an arts festival, very local arts festival for the artist itself, because it's the way we again the national exhibition and festival. That is all thing is kind of very diplomatic thing, or all showing it a very old-fashioned arts and make no development in art and culture, and also people understanding in general. And then so the artists themselves gathering and organizing this kind of arts festival. Then for us, we are running the mime art practice. We did it every year, and this year is the 8th year that we create is a kind of platform for international exchange, and young artists can working with established foreigner artists. It happens every year in October to December. We have the residency program for 2 months, and we have exhibition at the end. And during this time, we try to get different kind of program, not only to support the artist and support the exchange, but also to try to engage the community, the normal audience, to the art by the art tour, by the artist talk, by the visiting with the artist and the volunteers who are working directly with the artists. And just my last introduction about the archive. That also is our very new project. We just implemented it for 2 years. But it also is a way we deal with the lack in the understanding and education, because until now in Vietnam, they have no art class about contemporary art in the university. It's a really big problem for us. Like the contemporary art in Vietnam developed for 13 years, more than 13 years, but still have no class, no curriculum, no lesson, textbook in a university, both private or government university. So we try to initiate this project that we try to fill the gap in the knowledge, in the information and understanding about contemporary art in Vietnam. And we create, it's just 2 years, and we hope it can maintain it for the long term, and to set up the database for contemporary art and artists that people can come and see it. And because it's online, so everyone can access it and it's free, then it's the way we just try to do it. And so I think it's end of time for us, for me, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nguyen, for teaching us how to shape different perspectives on Vietnam through the arts. Everyone, please give him a big hand. Welcome back, everyone. That was a promo video for the PIC project, which stands for ASEAN-Korea Partnership Project for Innovative Culture. Now, the PIC project promotes cultural exchange and various collaborations between Korea and the ASEAN nations for a win-win partnership. And for continuous exchange and dialogue between Korea and the ASEAN, we hold regular forums every year and operate an online platform to promote active communication. We're also looking to build a foundation that supports joint projects between the two sides. And we wish to see more cultural exchanges between Korea and the ASEAN in the future. With that being said, let's kick off the second session of our forum, which will focus on new opportunities through the convergence of culture and industry. And for the second session, we have 4 more experts from Laos, Malaysia, Philippines, and South Korea who uncovered a whole new market by mixing art and culture with different industries. Everyone, please welcome our speakers to the stage. All right, welcome everyone. And our first speaker is 한-아세안, a film director here from Laos and the managing director of the Lao New Wave Cinema Productions. Please welcome him to the podium. Mr. Keola's first feature film, titled At the Horizon, was included in the official selection of the Bucheon International Fantastic Film Festival in 2013. It also became the first Lao film to be shown on HBO Asia. Today, he'll tell us more about his production, which was created to change the face of Lao cinema. We will also hear about his cinematic production processes here in Laos. And with that being said, here's Mr. Keola.
Thank you, Debbie. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have a strong coffee and caffeine to begin this second session. I will jump right into the content of Lao cinema. Even though Lao cinema quite fall behind among the ASEAN countries, but that doesn't mean that we have less talent, but it's due to the rough history of Laos that I will go through really briefly. The former director of cinema department wrote an article about cinema history in Laos. He divided history into 2 periods. The first is the period of before 1975, which is the golden era of Lao cinema. So in that era, we have 16 movie theaters in Laos. Can you imagine that? Because now we only have 4 in Laos in movie theater, and movie in that time mostly is propaganda films because we have civil war conditions in there. We have two governments that one is the government of the Kingdom of Laos, and another one is the Lao National Patriotic Front government, which we both know the results that after 1975 is the independence of the Lao National Party. So after that, the film is mostly used as a tool again, as a propaganda tool. We have the film that is very well known in the Cannes, also in Cannes Film Festival, by director Som Ok. That I have to mention is the Red Lotus. Or in Lao title is Bùa Đảng. And then comes the late 80s, that after the Soviet collapse, we have similar situations like in Vietnam, that we don't have any more subsidized for the government to make films. So the film business slowly died out, and the standalone film in every theater is closed. That is the beginning of the downfall of Lao cinema history in Laos. So that's why we don't have any more filmmakers during that time, and the generation grew up with no cinema culture. Like we don't have the culture of going to cinema to enjoy with the families or friends. But things started to get better in the early 2000s, because we opened the countries again for economic reform, and then comes this film. In 2008, Sabai Di Luang Prabang. This is the film. When this film released, I was still a university student, and this film inspired me that we can actually see Lao actor and Lao culture on big screen, and that's like a small seed that deep inside of me that I want to be also like part of that, because that time I enjoy drawing comic book. I consider myself also a storyteller, and so filmmaking is another art form that I'm interested in. But I have no idea what it's going to be like for the future. But since this film came out, it inspired me. It was the co-production between Laos and Thailand by the director Sakchai Dinan and Anusorn Sirisakda from Lao Art Media. And then here comes to the millennium generations of Lao filmmakers. This is the generations that we have, filmmakers that study abroad. Like me, myself, I study in film from Bangkok, Thailand. I have a colleague, group of friends who study from Australia, USA, Fulbright scholarship, and also I know someone who also attended a course in Korea. So these group of filmmakers come back home and then start to make a movement to make change. The story is much more challenging, and now we don't focus more on propaganda anymore. The content is more variety. We have a commercial, we have a film that reflects social issues. So even the storytelling has become more challenging for audience. And so the next one, I would like to show a short clip, a 2-minute short clip, that so we can go back in time a little bit to 2015, that this clip is filmed, to see what the film industry in Laos is like.
For over 2 decades, until 2008, not a single commercial film was made in the Lao People's Democratic Republic. The country doesn't have a proper movie industry or professional actors. But some young filmmakers are trying to turn things around. They're up against tight budgets and minimal equipment. as well as censorship by the socialist government.
เนื่องจากขั้นตอนของเขามันต้องได้แบบเอาบทเขียนบทแล้วไปผ่านสินะในกระบวนการเซ็นเซอร์ของเขามันหลายขั้นตอนเนาะไปผ่านแล้วก็แก้แล้วก็ผ่านเพื่อสิว่าเพิ่นสิตกลงให้
มันเป้าหมายหลักๆเขาคือเฮ็ดหนังแต่ว่าเพื่อเขาอยากอยู่รอดเขาก็ต้องมีเวียกอื่น
ก็เลยนั่นแหละก็เลยเป็นเหตุผลที่พวกเขาอยากเฮ็ดหนังให้คนลาวได้เบิ่ง
With enthusiasm as their main resource, these young artists are pursuing their dreams of developing a domestic film industry and contributing to their country's future along the way. Laos has long been one of Southeast Asia's poorest nations. We follow a group of young people who want to brighten people's lives through film.
So that was filmed 7 years ago, and the cinema industry in Laos is still pretty much the same, where the filmmakers are still struggling in each project that we want to do. It looks like the only thing that changed is my hair. So let's look at the film market in Laos now. We have 3 cinema theaters. We have the major Cityplex, which is the cinema chain from Thailand, and we currently have only one that owned by local investor. Lately, I heard that the cinema theater in Park Se didn't do very well commercially, but I hope they can hold on to it. Right, and I'm not sure if students here have seen this film. Maybe when you were quite a little, that's in 2014. It made like a box office record in Laos. To make it to a round number of the estimate is about $125,000. For international point of view, that's a very, very tiny budget income to make. But for us, that's like a biggest number in Laos. Let's look at the average. These are the titles that and the numbers that I share. I honestly, sincerely share from my experience as a filmmaker and as a production house making films in Laos. So the estimate average that we can sell the ticket is around $35,000. And many of you in here might not know that we also have to split the income with the theater. And in some cases, we have less than that because we have to pay for a distributor. So we have to find a grant. The main source of income that we have to find is mostly sponsorship. You might see Lao movie that have a lot of tie-in products in the film. So that's very necessary for us filmmakers to get money to make a film. And then we have to find some small investor, or even now you can find a new movie that still posts online for donations or for contributions from audience if you want to see the project. So we don't have studio systems here. So basically every filmmaker here in Laos are independent. Let me share you our experience with co-productions and working with international or foreigners productions. In 2017, we worked with the Japanese directors and producers. The film is called The River Flow. The film, I would say, it was a flop. It didn't make much ticket sales, even though I have a minimum expectation, but it didn't do very well. And that I can share because the film is trying to force or hard sell the culture too much. And so that to the eye of audience, it becomes a boring. Why would I want to come and watch a people doing a basi ceremony? Because in real life, you have to suffer sitting for an hour for basi, and then you have to sit again and watch the basi ceremony in movie. So that's why the culture shouldn't be forced into the media. In 2021, actually the production starts before the COVID period, but then the film release has been postponed. So this one is the anthology film that is told the story by 5 filmmakers from 5 Mekong countries. If by chance anybody here will be in Luang Prabang in December, this film will be screened in Luang Prabang Film Festival, which come back to live event again this year after the COVID. And this film we just finished, this one is not really a film, it's more like a TV show. It is the project that Lao New Wave Cinema Productions work with EBS Korean producers. The project is called Beast of Asia, and one episode in there happens in Laos, and we have experience to work with the Korean producers. Unfortunately, during this filming time, the COVID situation is still very strict. So we have to work remotely with the Korean producers. But it's a good experience that we see how detailed and what we learn from the experienced filmmakers from Korea. And then also, this film will be released next year. This one, it's the co-productions us with the independent British filmmakers who came here at first just to shoot a documentary, and then he fell in love with the culture here, with the people here. So he go back and write the story about Laos, and then he raised the money by himself. So we can help in contribute in the whatever that we have, the equipment that you can see, we have the light trucks that we help to what they call in-kind productions, that to help support the filmmakers, to help him tell the story and bring Lao culture to the world. So we have a very high hope for this film called Satu. So yeah, watch out for this title when you heard sometimes next year. And I will go very quick that Lao film, we also made some noise in the world stage. The film At the Horizon, or Lao title is Bai Tang, was released in HBO Asia in 2016. We have several Lao commercial films that has been released in Thai theater, even though it didn't make much box office, but at least we have potential to reach the audience outside of Laos. And recently, this is like a historical moment for Lao film as well. The film called The Long Walk, in Lao title is Bomi Wanchak, by female director Matido. It was released on Netflix recently. So this is like a big success for Lao cinema. However, this success, I would say we cannot yet sustain the momentum of success, because it comes and goes. We still don't have the industry. Every project to project, we still struggle. So this is some quick idea of how we can attack in each issues. We have lack of funding, so hopefully we can work with international producers who can help us Lao filmmaker to reach to the international grant, because I would say language is the main barrier. Let's say I have a good project, but if I don't know how to transfer the idea to the paper and make the paper looks or read that can catch attention from the potential investor or producer, so that means less chance for our project to get picked up. So it will be helpful for us to work with international producers that can fill in this weakness in our filmmaker and producers field. And the market size of Laos, as I showed you earlier, that we only have 4 cinema theaters. We have only 7 million populations, but the average of number of people who can afford to buy the ticket to watch in the theater is around 20,000 people. That's a very small number, small percentage compared to the population number. So the market is the main challenge for us, the market size. So what I think is it's going to take some time for us to produce more population. So we better find shortcut to expand our market to other audience. So that means it is in our challenge to be to improve ourselves, to take a shortcut to learn as much as we can, to improve our work. We don't have to waste time complaining, oh, why nobody watch Lao film? No, we have to do it better. See our neighbor, what they did well, what they did success, and then we can try to follow that model. Censorship, in many countries that we go, every filmmakers from every country complain about censorship. So I'm not here to complain about censorship, because we know that even though you're from a free country, you might still have some taboo subject or some self-censorship that you have to deal with. So I'm not here to complain, but just be creative and deal with it. Look forward to shortcut for Lao filmmaker is to work with foreigner, to work with the producer who has more experience. And I like to end it with the lesson that I learned from the past, from working with foreign productions, is that we should focus on the film or the message or the story that we want to tell. Don't try to force or hard sell your culture. Just let the culture speak for itself. Let the people love your story, and then the culture, they will appreciate it after that. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your inspiring story. As a movie lover myself, I hope to see the Lao film industry grow even more in the future with all the love and hard work of people like Mr. Keola here. Please give him another big round of applause. And our second speaker is Abdul Shakir, co-founder of Filament from Malaysia. Please welcome Mr. Shakir to the podium. Please give him a big hand. Thank you. Now, Filament is an audiovisuals collective that handles projection mapping and interactive installations. The company is also well known for its works in design and other artistic projects. And as the co-founder of this company, Mr. Shakir will tell us how art and technology can be used to bring people from different regions together so they can enjoy art in an easier way. And please welcome Mr. Shakir.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, Debbie, for the introduction. Right. So, hi guys. So I'm going to go through this quite quickly because I have quite a lot of slides. So my name is Shakir, like the singer Shakira without A. What do? I actually I actually hold a few hats. I'm a designer first. I'm also trying to practice as an artist, particularly digital artist. And also I run a collective called Filament. So just to share some of the stuff that I do as an artist, particularly as digital artist. So I meant by digital artist, every single thing that I do basically worked on digital platform, or I created using digital platform. So like this one is I've used a lot of like digital software to create these kind of visuals. And as you can see, some of my visuals actually depicted or inspired by my local culture and stuff that I do, and what I wanted to tell is basically what close to me, especially Malaysia culture. And also a lot of the stuff that I do evolve within physical and digital. Digital is great on screen, but you can also use a lot of other methods to bring it back to physical space, such as using projectors. So projector is one of the best tool to basically bring it back to physical world, where you can actually project your work onto a lot of things. And this is an example of projection mapping. So I've done this project during my residency at Ribondahan. It's an organic projection mapping where I use projector to project on living, breathing object, which is leaves and the nature. So yeah, and also other than just creating the visual and also projecting on a small scale, I joined a few or submitted my work to a few festivals and competition. Particularly for this one is in Bangkok. So there's an open call and also competition all around the world. And this one was done in Bangkok on East Aesthetic Building. And I've submitted my visuals and I exhibited at the competition itself. And yeah, again, as you can see, most of my work actually revolve around, trying to merge between arts and technology and also infuse culture within it. And yeah, this is basically what I do as an artist currently. Yeah, so new and old. For those who don't know, this is a symbol of tree of life. Within, I think, Southeast Asia, especially in Indonesia and Malaysia, called pohon beringin or gunungan in Indonesia. So yeah, a lot of things that I do actually revolve around that. So yeah, you can actually check out more on my Instagram page. I'm actually here to actually talk more about my collective. So when I wanted to start as an artist after I graduated, it's very hard for me to go somewhere or find a platform or a group of people to talk about what I wanted to do, especially with new media art and digital art. Because what we were trained a lot is to go out and work in agency. And that's what we were taught and we were trained for. But I think it's important for us to have an outlet, an alternative outlet to go out and tell about our own story instead of talking about other people's story, like for example, brands and corporates and stuff. So in 2016, I decided to resign from my job and started this collective called Filament. So basically, the idea of Filament is to provide a platform for new young artists, emerging artists to explore on this new medium other than traditional medium that we currently have. You can use VR, AR, projection mapping, interactive installation, sensor, a lot of other things. And hence, providing space, event, festival to exhibit their work. So that's essentially what Filament are. So this is some of the stuff that we've done. We've done light installation, we've done interactive installation, public art installation, and all these actually run during light festival and art festival happen mostly in Malaysia. So this is what I mentioned just now. The idea is to connect and become a bridge between these three different, group of people. Students will eventually become an artist, and artists will eventually become a company. But how we can actually move from one to another, there is no bridge in Malaysia especially. So we wanted to actually be able to have a platform where students can then talk to the companies, get an intern, do something at the companies, and the company can then find a platform to get new young talent. On the other hand, providing a platform for people who actually work in companies to become an artist and practice an artist, because we need an outlet, especially what I think on the first session we talk about mental health and so on, and I think it's important for us to express ourselves throughout different kind of medium and so on. So this is basically what we're trying to do at Filament, but again, it's a process that we went through. So in Filament, again, it's a collective. We don't really run a really big team. There's only 3 people in Filament, but what we do is we work with a lot of other artists. By artists, what I mean is basically people with skill sets. So some of them are mechatronic engineer, electrical engineer, motion graphic designer, graphic designer. We work with architects, interior designer, and so on and so on. But what they do for their commercial is different than what they do within Filament itself. So what we do at Filament is more on art or expressive thought on using their skill set and do it there. Within Filament, there's 2 main effort that we're trying to put up. One is Immershow. It's an exhibition that we try to run every year, annually. And another one, we have a gallery, digital art gallery. So I'm going to touch first about digital art gallery. The reason why we started this because after running a few exhibitions and projects and stuff, we felt like it's very hard for us to find a space, especially gallery, to exhibit digital art. Because the problem lies on the difficulties on the technicality, like to set up, to maintain and so on is very, very, very hard. So what we did is basically we equipped one space with a few projectors and fill up the whole entire space. And it's nice to see how people actually experience art differently instead of going into a gallery and, you know, trying to like look things on wall, but now they actually go and enter the art itself. So that's what we do. It is an immersive room that we created. And because it's immersive, we can then activate a lot of other things, like for example, performance, dance performance, and so on and so on. So that's digital art gallery. Then we have Immershow. Immershow is this exhibition that we do annually on certain spaces. So we've done 2017, 18, and 19, and then we stopped for 2 years because of COVID, of course. And I think we can roll the first video to probably give you guys more better idea on what I do at Immershow.
Bounce. Hi. Hey. What's that in your hand, boy? Let it go. I be pumping gas like Tesco. You can catch a shot like it's medical. Girl, you got me frozen, little hoe, I'ma let it go.
My face is yellow, but my heart is blue. Feel me, a movie into Harley. Ooh, I do it like an Usher, lights and it's slow. Girl, you got me like a frozen, I'm gonna just let it go.
She just do it like a me, type of 3, I'm a piper. But don't know I cause you the fire. After breakfast, make another one. My girl so hungry, she need a handado. Oh, you didn't just go, I am that my duke. I am proud to do this, you need a booty. She ain't the bread, you want me, got a booty. I just have to do what you sugar, ooh.
You feel it when we made it, I like it so I take it. You talk about the rules, I don't get it, I just break it with on tall. With your word, with you a jar. Don't bring your girl for me because you know I'm a flirt. My face is yellow, but my heart is blue. Feel me, a movie into Harley. Ooh, I do it like an Usher, lights and it's slow. Girl, you got me like a frozen, I'm gonna just let it go.
What's that in your hand, boy? Let it go. I be pumping gas like Tesco. You can catch a shot like it's medical. Girl, you got me frozen, little hoe, I'ma let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go.
Pull up a white coat, how the weight go? I gotta make joke on the table. Sit in my well like a Lucifer in hell. You drink a milk, I drink a XL. Proud of the benefit the L week. Take a minute, had time to marry me. What you don't want the allergy, let's tell me enemy. You buy your mail to the town with the family. One night for flower, one night for love, one night for one night. Be careful, my money, you ask much as David to tea. Mr. Trouble, make a worker, and cover for me. What's when you stay in the door and the searching for kill? I change the time and touch up at the two in my with the pill. I change your VIP into VVIP. I really can you speak and Chinese and the ready my thing.
So that is basically essentially what is Immershow, and all of that work is basically not us. It was a work of a collective. So we commission artists to actually exhibit and showcase their work. For example, this one is quite cool installation that is done by one of the artists. It was this hopscotch. I think it's quite famous within Southeast Asia. So you can actually interact with the hopscotch, because last time what we do is we draw a chalk or something on the floor, while this one we use projector and also sensor. We also do, this is where we actually start to bring in a few other artists from different region, different country within the region. We work with this group of artists where we match them, and they did this really cool installation where you can actually paint your own projection mapping. So instead of just looking at the projection mapping, you can do and project your own paintings onto the building itself. And this is done by two artists, one of them from Indonesia and another one is from Malaysia. Also, we bring in artists from different countries, especially this is one of group of artists that we bring in from Bandung, Indonesia. they exhibited this interactive installation at our space during Immerse Show, and the idea is to share out different kind of culture from within the region itself. Yeah, and we are going to actually run another Immerse Show happening 4th of November until 27th of November. So if you guys in Malaysia, feel free to drop by. It's our collaboration with the new partner that we are currently called ASEAN-TM. So other than running Immerse Show and also Digital Gallery, we also work with a lot of other art festival. Specifically, this project we work with Georgetown Festival. Georgetown is this small city in an island called Penang, up south. Yeah, in Malaysia. So let's play the second VT so that we can see what is the event is all about. Alright, yeah, so for those who never seen projection mapping, that's basically projection mapping. So what we do is basically we take a really big projector and then we mapped out the content onto any kind of things. It could be, leaf, or for this case, instance, is a building. So we did an opening for the show, and then there is performance and stuff happening. Which is kind of interesting because people can enjoy it, and the idea is also to bring back life to the building itself. Because people don't really care about heritage building and old building. What we do is basically make the attention back, give back the attention to the building itself. And I think it's quite interesting to see that. And the next following year, which is 2020 and 2021, we haven't got the chance to actually do another projection mapping on site. What we did is basically, instead of projecting on one building, we actually project throughout the whole entire city of Georgetown. So what we did is basically we 3D print the whole city and then use projector to project on this. And this project actually, this is where we actually bring in other artists. So it's a virtual residency because COVID. So it's a 1-month residency where we actually run with artists from the region and also some of them from Romania and Mexico. So every week we actually meet and talk about different culture and compare about what we do and so on and so on. It's kind of interesting to see how they actually come up with the final artwork itself. And yeah, like we have artists from Vietnam talking about differences between Vietnamese dish or cakes and also Malaysian cakes and stuff. So it's very interesting kind of conversation that happened during that time. And we also run this during COVID. We ran this competition called Mapping from Home Festival. It's a festival where the first iteration actually started in Indonesia. So we felt like it's a nice project, and we wanted to bring it into Malaysia too. So what we did is basically we open up to people who wanted to do projection mapping at home. You can actually take your projector, or if you don't have, you can loan it, and then we'll teach you how to do projection mapping, and you just send in your work, and it will be credited as one of the participants for the competition. So the project itself run by us as Malaysian team, and also Sembilan Matahari is the Indonesian team the Mapping from Home festival itself. So it's all run online. We did like some workshops and stuff. Everything is online, which is kind of sad, but I think at the same time it's kind of blessing in disguise because we can then still do something during that time. So as you can see, a lot of stuff that we did, what we're trying to do is basically try to map out other digital art and new media art artists, individual artists or collective around Southeast Asia. We wanted to know more, especially like, you know, Myanmar, Vietnam, we only have one friend there, Laos, Cambodia, Philippines and stuff. We wanted to know more people so that we can do this exchange and I don't know, like activate something together. And I think it's very important because here in Southeast Asia, we are rich in culture. And we have this new tool that no one actually utilized. And there's not so much story that been told using this new medium. And that's what we wanted to do, moving forward with digital art and new media art. So it's always about art technology with us. This is one of the projects that really makes me wanted to go into this. This project is our R&D project within the company that I worked before I resigned. So it's a shadow puppet by using a mini projector with some sensor. I think we can play the video 3 to see how it works. Yeah, so as you can see, basically there is a sensor, motion sensor, what we call lip motion. So it basically just detects your hands and you basically can control the puppet itself inside the projection. So the idea is how we can actually use our tradition, our culture, and infuse it to this new medium, which is kind of interesting, I think. So last from me, I think moving forward, other than, you know, getting to know more people and trying to like you know, develop something within this new kind of technology, I think maybe also going backwards in terms of like going back to our roots, understanding our culture, because it's like what I said, it's very rich and very interesting. Like, you know, you just go from one country to another country, you can learn a lot of things, you can eat a lot of different stuff, and so on and so on. So Southeast Asia have a lot of potential, a lot of story that we didn't have the time to tell it through different kind of medium. And I think there is a potential for us to actually do that. And again, yeah, I think last for me, find our story, use whatever medium that you have in front of you, whether it's your mobile phone, you know, projector, TV, laptops, whatever, just tell your story. And I think it will worth the time. Yeah, I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shakir, for showing us how the convergence of art and technology is creating more opportunities for collaboration between different ASEAN countries and showing us how technology can lead to more cultural innovation. Thank you. Give it up for Mr. Shakir. And moving on to our third speaker of this session is Ms. Joanne Bidicol from the Philippines. Everyone, please give her a big hand as she moves to the podium. Now, Ms. Bidicol works as a model, photographer, and designer for her namesake brand. She started her own brand last year as a way to express the art and culture of the Philippines in her own stylish way. With that being said, here's Ms. Bidicol with her presentation once we get set up with the podium right there. All right, let's get started. Here's Ms. Bidicol.
I am Joanne Bitagcol, founder and creative director of the brand Bitagcol. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me to come over. Okay, may I share my journey with you all? This is a visual and tactile thesis on fashion, photography, and Philippine culture. A bit of background about myself. Slide in. I started a modeling career back in 1996, worked with different photographers, stylists, and walked for several designers locally and within the region, Malaysia, Singapore, and Hong Kong. And a few years after that, I got curious on making my own model folio. And so I went behind the lens. I met more dynamic creatives, and photography has expanded my horizon, which led me to shows at Cultural Center of the Philippines in collaboration with fashion designer Georgie Loren. And another highlight is an exhibition in Yochenko Museum in collaboration with accessory designer Winwin Ong, and other exhibitions and collaborations with Ballet Philippines, and other exhibitions also with Art Fair Philippines. And in between my shooting years were gallery shows, which I presented myself as an artist, and using my photography and fabric sculpting as my medium, tapping Philippine traditions and folklore with my photography and integration of voodoo dolls. In some provinces in the Philippines, they use voodoo dolls to inflict pain. But of course, in my shows, I made it reverse. This is about bringing in some positive light and sending out love and light to my audience. And through my photography and voodoo dolls, tripolar series were created, and this is a story about my healing journey before the pandemic and during the pandemic. So tripolar meaning, because we have two polars here, I heard about the word bipolar, and that got inspired me. So having the two polars here, the positive and the negative, and try being on top of it, being in control of two polars, that is the inspiration for this tripolar series that I did. Anyways, the first tripolar show was at Avellana Gallery, and then the second one was under Vinyl on Vinyl, and the most recent one was an online exhibition under Art Agenda Gallery, a Singapore-based gallery, and the presentation is for Art Fair Philippines as well. Did some book project as well, and this particular book, Fashionable Filipinas, is very dear to my heart because I was able to collaborate also with some amazing, brilliant creatives like Gino Gonzalez and Mark Higgins. And here, they give, I got a deeper knowledge about identity and fashion. And it opened my awareness as well to our traditional garments. And I've learned some ways of living back in the days where how elegant Filipinos wear in their traditional wear, like ternos, barot saya, and Maria Clara, and some painetas also, okay, and other accessories. Mid-2019 was the discovery of printing photos on silk satin materials, and these photographs that I am showing you on the slide on the screen were actually outtakes from that book project, Fashionable Filipinas. And through these photographs, Bitagkol scarves and Baul collection were born. Just to share also, Baul in Filipino means that's where you store some treasure and some valuable pieces. So that is a treasure chest for us. And people would frame these scarves in their homes, and also they use it as an accessory. That same year, frameable scarves would join shows and pop-ups, Katutubo Pop-Up Market in particular, and clients in those trade shows would ask or request me, or how can I make an outfit out of those prints. And due to the unexpected success and demand, I felt the strong I felt the strong love of country and respect for heritage. So I was inspired to create ready-to-wear pieces out of those prints. So in 2020, these scarves were translated to robes, dresses, face masks, aprons, t-shirts. So from these frameable silk materials to clothing line. So at the height of pandemic, Bitag Call clothing brand was established. So our national costume, terno, barong Tagalog, baro, vintage paños, were brought back to life and given them a contemporary take. So, next slide. Okay. More collections were launched, such as the Barong Tagalog. The Barong Tagalog, just like what I'm wearing now, okay, is made traditionally for men only. And from that, let me just share you the process and translation. So from a collector's place, I go to their place and shoot their collection. So this piece of garment, Barong Tagalog, was translated into shirt dress and pullovers, tops, and scarves. So the Barong Tagalog that traditionally for man became for everyone already. So regardless of your age, of your gender, our very own Barong Tagalog adapting to time and evolving universally. Sharing more collections to you guys is the Tamis and Burda collection. Tamis means in Filipino, this means sweet. And this piece of paper here, there you go. Okay, these cut-out papers were actually used to wrap candies called pastillas, which made out of Carabao's milk. So these wrappers, again, was translated to robes and then scarves again, and then tops, and also frameable work of pieces of art. And then another example is another collection, which is my latest collection, is Burda collection, tapping family heritage this time. I went to their place, to their home, and then they shared to me these vintage wrappers, these vintage blueprints of their designs on their tapestry. And again, they were translated into skirts and wearable tops, this time reversible with pocket at the back. So this is my collaboration with SC Vizcara. SC Vizcara is one of the few heritage brands in the country, and it is known for their embroidery tapestry. Okay. Bitag Call has been around for 2019, okay, 3 years, and then plus the pandemic time. So it's technically a very young brand for me. And I am proud to share each achievements and other collaborations. First with a luxury resort in Coron, Palawan in Philippines. Another one is a jewelry brand based in Hong Kong called Araw. And another one is Saitem. The prints were interpreted as home product. This is for Center of International Trade Expositions and Missions, and Saitem. So what does Bitag Call stands for? So in a nutshell, this is about honoring the self, the roots, ancestors, and family, creating with good intentions and doing it with love. Bitag Call aims to participate in more trade shows and pop-ups to pass on the information about our culture, our traditional garments, and also planning to collaborate with weavers and to use more local fabrics and local materials. I guess that's it for me. So this is me, Bitag Call, translating our culture to fashion. Thank you all so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Ms. Vidicol, for showing us how fusing different genres of art can create another piece of art, and you are more than welcome to come back to your seats. And it was really cool to see the evolution of Filipino culture and fashion through your brand. Thank you, Ms. Vidicol. Please give her a big hand. And we're now down to our last speaker of today's forum. Please welcome Director Chun Young-jang of Iota Labs from Korea. Now, Mr. Chang is also the artist behind the ensemble project that you'll get to see at the Bientian Center tonight. And his company, Iota Labs, develops indoor positioning-based technology and provides related services. Today, he will tell us more about his ensemble project and how he managed to combine technology and his artistic skills to create this piece of media art. With that being said, here's Director Chang.
Thank you for having me. Let's start to begin with this question. Are you happy? You look like tired. How can we recognize happy or not? Maybe through our senses, including eyesight, or smells, or gestures, or voices, or expression of all could be. From now on, I will have time to explain about technologies in media art for emotional expressions. Especially, I will focus on appropriate technologies in short AT that are used in my artworks. New media art could be described as art that is designed and produced using electronic technologies, of course, computer controlled. Because using these technologies, we can expand our expressions more dynamically and more communicable between devices and the visitors of the exhibition spaces. Using computer devices, visitors could have their new experiences with the art. For example, you can touch the content and you could speak to the content, and you could give gestures in front of the content. Then the content might answer back, reply back to you through displays or through sound of speakers or movement of lovers and so on. These environments might need variants. These environments might need various sensors and processors and network connections, wired or wireless, and the software that processes these all terms. Among these technologies, my team always focus on the AT, appropriate technology. These could be defined as the proper technologies that can be used to the works that I want to design. At recent, we could use some deep learning to the art, convolutional neural network, or some other things. So it's so difficult to investigate them, AI, or development them, but it's not so difficult to use them. So my team has studied them and applied them to the artwork. So we could handle a small piece of facial expressions of public people. Then we started our step closer to the question, are you happy? How can we recognize one's happiness? This is the one of major important purpose using technologies to the artwork. In AT, it could various technologies of general industries. This includes personal media, big data, robots, drones, mobility, and so on. These are one of my artwork titled Regress Time, and this was included in the exhibition of Asia Culture Center in Gwangju, Korea, 2020. Many technologies were needed to get them work as a whole. But there is one point that I have to say about expression by technologies. We do not create media art for demonstration. We do create them using the technologies. There is appropriate technologies we can call. So these kinds of technologies give us the expansion of sensor spaces. They give us connections of each other things. Last year, 2021, I had joined in the exhibition named First Human Ensemble of ACC also, with the title of Land and Forest. The curator, Yu Young, she's over there, thank you. Back then, I had given from her the concept of the exhibition. In this unstable environment, it is needed cooperation and recovering in between human and non-human. So at first, my team had discussed so many times how to express our intentions. Back then, we started to have a question, are you happy again? We were curious about someone's feelings from the other's point of view in front of me. And we had decided to apply AI engine to our artwork. The artwork would be changed by visitors' facial expression in real time. So the visitor's emotional expression could be the part of the art. This is the prototype of our sketch. Large back screen there, and the screen has 3 states of water. Each status of water could be changed, ice to liquid, or boiling to liquid, or vice versa. So your feelings on face can make them change. Water can do its phase transition by your facial expressions. So this is the beginning of the system. The camera in front of you could be the other's eye. So the other's eye, we can think as a non-human of AI. This AI had learned with the tons of facial data of millions of people. when you are at the front of the camera, the AI computer starts to understand your emotion through your facial expression. So if your expression is a smile, then the AI computer sends the happy command to drone and the screen to flip. So then the drone can do flip back and forth. At the same time, the computer do display a proper video clip of boiling water on the big screen behind. So we use appropriate technology on this system. Let's see the movement of drone by feelings. You can see the 7 kinds of feelings concurrently. The mask smile, then flip. This also. This was the right side. This was the front scene of London Forest in ACC exhibition 2021. These pictures are the phase transition of the water. On the top row is freezing water to ice. And the second line is the pictures of melting water. And the last line is boiling water. So are you happy? Then you can make it boiling in real time. These are the kiosks at the front of the visitors, and the right side of the scene has the drones and their control software that I have had programmed for this exhibition. Drones were flying on the front of the screen simultaneously. Now, a few seconds, I will show you the introduction for the exhibition, Post-Human Ensemble 2021 in ACC. In special, media needs multilateral cooperation, mutual cooperation. Export cooperation implies social and industrial cooperation, I think. Your global cooperation through exchanges of each would be of great help to these kind of arts and industries. I believe that with this social expansion, we can expect a quantum jump or quantum leap in high value industries. So, final question. Are you happy? Yes, I'm happy for being with you, all of you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. That was Director Chang Junyoung from ERLAS from Korea. Thank you, Mr. Chang, for your presentation. Thank you. And now it's time to wrap up the 2022 ASEAN-Korea Innovative Culture Forum. Thank you all for joining us for the past 4 hours. It was a pleasure to be here with you all and learn more about how Korea and the ASEAN can work together to bring culture innovation through the arts. I truly hope that one day Korea and ASEAN will become partners in leading the cultural industries, not just in Asia, but all around the world. Thank you again to all of our guest speakers, as well as students from the National University of Laos and the art community for being a part of today's event. And that really brings us to the end of today's forum. Thank you so much. Goodbye.